Hey there, trail trekkers and tall tale seekers. You're tuned in to the 406 Life, the podcast where Montana Max, your Bigfoot buddy and outlaw gear mascot, yeah, that's me, leads you through the wild, weird, and wonderful corners of Montana. Each week we share stories, legends, and laughs from the last best place. So grab your boots and sense of adventure, because we're about to make some Montana-sized memories. This episode's powered by Outlaw Gear, where rebels get their style. Want to look legendary? Mosey over to I'mAnOutlaw.com and claim your outlaw status. Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the 406 Life, the only show where a Bigfoot named Montana Max tells you stories so wild, your hat might blow right off your head. If you like Montana history, mountain legends, or just want to know what your grandpappy never dared tell you, you're in for a treat. Today's episode, where Montana grit made legends. Grab a mug, get comfortable. This one's got snowstorms, secret missions, rowdy bar fights, a parade, and enough dogs to out-howl a full moon. Now, let me take you back to 1942. Picture it. The world's gone plumb crazy with war. The Nazis are digging in deep across Europe, and everyone's nervous about some secret weapon the Germans are cooking up in Norway's icy wilds. I mean, we're talking cold. Colder than a Montana outhouse seat in January. The Allies needed a plan. And not just any plan, they needed something bold, desperate, downright outlandish. So along comes Lord Louis Mountbatten, a fellow with a name so fancy he could have been a brand of English tea, and a wild-haired scientist named Geoffrey Pike. Their plan? Blow up Hitler's hydro dams in Norway. Only problem, you needed men tough enough to not just survive the Arctic, but to fight in it. So where do you find men built for snow, stone, and silence? Some say Canada, some say Montana. Turns out you needed both, and so right smack dab in the Helena Valley, at Fort William Henry Harrison, a new kind of soldier was born. Recruitment. Only the toughest need apply. They didn't want just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. No, sir, they went after folks who'd already lived hard, lumberjacks who'd sharpened their axes on granite, hunters who could spot elk tracks at dawn, forest rangers who'd spent more nights under stars than in beds, and skiers who didn't flinch at 40 below. Hell, if you'd ever outrun a grizzly or wrestled a pine marten for your lunch, you were on their list. They even put out posters and classified ads. Wanted, physically fit men, single between 21 and 35, willing to undertake hazardous cold weather duty. Must be proficient with skis, snowshoes, and firearms. Heavy emphasis on ability to think independently. No sissies. And if that didn't weed out the weak, the Montana weather sure did. The training harder than week-old jerky. Picture this, you roll up to Fort Harrison. First thing you see, miles of white tents, parachute towers going up, muddy boots everywhere, and a mess sergeant barking about chow colder than the outside air. The place smelled of sweat, gun oil, and nervous anticipation. First up, paratrooper training. Now in most places they'd build a nice tall tower, let you practice your jump, get your nerves under control. Not in Helena, nope. First jump, right out of a C-47 airplane, thousands of feet above the valley. As one old-timer said, it put hair on my chest, and I already had plenty. The men learned every weapon under the sun. Not just American rifles, no sir. They had to learn to shoot, clean, and fix German MP-40, Italian Berettas, British Enfields. If it fired bullets, they had to master it. There were rumors a few of them could field strip a machine gun blindfolded, drunk, and halfway through a harmonica solo. Then came explosives. The forcemen used so much dynamite practicing that some Helena locals started putting up signs, "If this house shakes, blame the Army." Ready for your next Montana home? Visit mostwantedrealestate.net because that's how the West is sold. Bar fights, bagpipes, and brotherhood. You might think that bringing together a bunch of tough-as-nails Americans and spit-shined Canadians would lead to trouble. You'd be right. First few weeks, the mess tent was a powder keg. The Americans brought the attitude, the Canadians brought the order, and the only thing they agreed on was the coffee was too weak. But something started to change. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Frederick, their fearless leader, figured out that to make one team out of two, you needed tradition. So he let the Canadians have their bagpipers blast revel every morning. Imagine 2,300 men, bleary-eyed, hearing the skirl of bagpipes at dawn in the Montana hills. Some said it kept the bears away. And on weekends, the whole circus would descend on Helena's finest establishments, the Gold Bar, the Corner, the Log Cabin nightclub. Fights? Sometimes. But respect? Always. There's an old saying, a true friend is someone you've brawled with, then bought a drink for. By the time the snows melted, those boys were thicker than thieves. Marches, mountains, and the Devil's Brigade. Now, if you wanted to stay in the force, you had to keep up. That meant forced marches. 60 miles over the hills, 20 hours, full combat load. The kind of trek that'd make even a seasoned elk think twice. Winter meant the real pain began. Norwegian ski instructors rolled in, teaching the forcemen how to glide across snow, build shelters with nothing but sticks and curses, and sleep through blizzards. Mount Helena, Blue Cloud, Sheep Mountain, those became their classrooms. If you couldn't climb a cliff with a mortar strapped to your back, well, you'd find yourself reassigned to the kitchen quicker than you could say hot dish. And then there was the knife fighting. Pat O'Neill, an Irishman with fists like sledgehammers, taught him to fight dirty and win quick. Hit 'em fast, hit 'em hard, and don't get fancy. The V-42 knife was their signature, sharp as a gossip in a beauty parlor, and twice as deadly. Camp Rimini, where the dogs ran wild. Out at Camp Rimini, west of town, they trained more than 800 sled and pack dogs for high-altitude action. These weren't your average mutts. These were four-legged commandos. They pulled stripped car chassis in summer, hauled sleds loaded with 1,000 pounds of gear in winter, and even wore parachutes for practice jumps. Rumor was, the only thing tougher than the handlers were the dogs themselves. After the Norway plan got scrapped, these teams became heroes of the Arctic, rescuing downed pilots from Greenland to Newfoundland, hauling gear where no jeep could go, and teaching the Army what Montana had always known. Sometimes you gotta trust your dogs. Romance, loans, and Main Street legends. Now Helena wasn't just a backdrop, it became home. On payday weekends, paratrooper wings were used as collateral for $5 loans at local bars, and every single one got paid back. That's a Montana handshake if I ever saw one. The fellas fell in love with Helena girls. Nearly 200 marriages before the unit shipped out. Some say you could hear the sound of wedding bells all the way up Mount Helena. And when it came time for the unit to leave, the city didn't just wave goodbye. They threw a parade. April 6th, 1943. Main Street packed. Soldiers in full gear, Helena families cheering, the governor reviewing the troops. For a minute, the whole town was one big family. Need shipping, shredding, prints, or a real street address? Helena's locally owned and operated the UPS store has you covered, located at 2047 North Last Chance Gulch. Stop by and get it done right. Monte la Defensa, legends made real. All that hardship and training, it paid off in Italy. December 1943, Monte la Defensa, 500-foot limestone cliffs, slick as a politician's promise, guarded by dug-in Germans. Most units tried and failed, but the Devil's Brigade, trained on Helena's cliffs, scaled those rocks at night, hauling mortars, ammo, and wounded, catching the enemy off guard. By sunrise, the summit was theirs. The cost? Heavy. 511 casualties on that mountain alone, but not a single failed mission. Not once. Next up, Anzio. The Black Devils painted their faces with boot polish, slipped behind German lines, and raised so much hell the Germans wrote in their diaries. The Black Devils are everywhere. We can't sleep. That reputation stuck, and for the rest of the war, any time something impossible needed doing, the call went out to the men who trained in Helena. The legacy, from Montana hills to global heroes. When the force was finally disbanded in '44, their story didn't end. Modern U.S. Army Green Berets and Canada's Special Ops both tipped their hats to the FSSF. Their insignia, the red arrowhead, the crossed arrows, came from Helena. Even Congress finally caught up, awarding the survivors the Congressional Gold Medal in 2013. Fort Harrison is still there, home to the Montana Military Museum, packed with artifacts, V-42 knives, M29 Weasel snow vehicles, and uniforms that look like they've seen a few stories themselves. You walk those halls and you can almost hear the bagpipes, the marching boots, and maybe, just maybe, the distant yip of a sled dog. So what's it all mean? It means legends aren't born on easy streets. They're made on cold mornings, hard marches, wild nights, and by folks who never learned the word quit. Montana Grit built more than stories. It built the world's toughest commandos. It changed history. If this tale stirred something in your bones, don't forget. Give the 406 Life a 5-star rating wherever you listen, so other folks can stumble onto these stories too. Share it with your family, friends, or anyone who needs reminding that there's more to Montana than mountains and trout. Until next time, keep your coffee hot, your heart wild, and your eyes on the ridgeline. This is Montana Max, over and out. Got a Montana story, business, or unsolved mystery you want on the show? Head to the 406life.com and drop me a line. No smoke signals required. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a stomp, stumble, or tall tale. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, heck, tell that guy who swears he saw me near Whitefish. I was just buying donuts, all right? Until next time, keep it outrageous, keep it kind, and keep living the 406 life. Montana Max, over and out.
That's the